We've got a problem here in the UK, and it is concerning bus stops, where there are cycle tracks close to the curb. These are known as bus borders. Bus passengers are expected to step into a life cycle lane to get on and off a bus. Research in Denmark showed crashes between cyclists and bus passengers rose from 5 to 73 when this design was used. In Islington in London, a bus stop border was removed in 2016, as it was not safe for blind or visually impaired bus passengers. And then there are the bus stop bypasses, where the cycle tracks run behind the bus shelter, sandwiched in between the island and the pavement. People waiting for the bus, apart from watching their step getting on and off the bus, they have got to first cross the cycle track. If they get off the bus, they think their journey is over. But no, it's not, because they then have to negotiate the cycle track. Many cyclists go through at speed, with no intention of stopping. This situation is not safe at all. Pedestrians can be knocked off their feet, even by slow-moving cyclists. Bus passengers are witnessed stepping backwards, running across the zebra crossing or waiting to let cyclists go past. Cyclists also weave in and out pedestrians, and use the pavement and the island to get around bus passengers. Bus passengers have one thing on their mind: catching a bus, and ensuring they are in the right position to board it. The space on the bus island is very narrow. Bus passengers regularly overspill into the cycle lane. Many other people also walk or run into the cycle lane, unaware it is one. For blind and visually bus impaired passengers, this makes boarding a bus very difficult. It can also isolate them from the public on the pavements to ask for help. The situation has not improved after lockdown. This footage was filmed at Whitechapel in London in March 2022. Cyclists are still racing through the bus stop bypass, many not wanting to stop, taking priority over bus passengers, with bus passengers jumping back from cyclists whizzing past, with bus passengers hanging back to let cyclists go past, with cyclists not letting small children with adults cross the cycle path, or older people cross. Cyclists trying to get through even the smallest of gaps between bus passengers, trying to cross the zebra crossing. This situation is absolutely not safe or accessible for blind and visually impaired bus passengers, as well as for many other bus passengers that are elderly, have mobility issues or hidden disabilities. Sandy Taylor, Street Access Executive, National Federation of the Blind of the UK, who is blind, raised these concerns during COP26 in Glasgow in November 2021.
Public transport is a key. If we have accessible public transport, we can get around.
Sandy, we're at Sauchiehall Street. What would you like to say to them about this street redesign?
Well, Sarah, this street is totally inaccessible to people like me. I can't use public transport, which is the main thing that we want access to so that we can travel around the city. There is no way I'm prepared to cross a two-way cycle lane to get on and off a bus. Cyclists don't stop, they just carry on, so it's far too dangerous.
And are you being left behind, Sandy?
Well, the bus has just left, I think, Sarah, and certainly I'm left behind.
These concerns echo those raised prior to the pandemic in Manchester by Kevin Greenan, who is blind.
We went to Oxford Road today in Manchester to look at the bus stop bypasses. Can you just explain to me what happened and how you felt?
What I actually noticed was where one gets off a bus, one is standing on the tactile paving as if one is going to go onto the pavement. What struck me was that I was coming onto what was in fact a cycle lane, albeit a zebra crossing. I understand cyclists passed, but I was not aware of them. Part of this might be due to the traffic noise behind me, but I felt quite vulnerable because I didn't know whether it was safe for me to cross that lane. If I was on my own, I certainly would not cross, and unfortunately I would have to resort to help from the public.
One stopped after the crossing and asked if you needed help, and the very last one actually stopped, got off his bike and asked you to cross, but the other 24, 25 just rode straight past you.
They did, and the thing is, I did not hear them. There was absolutely no sound of cyclists travelling in front of me. In fact, I didn't even feel the wind or air that I would have thought would have created by a passing cyclist. So for a totally blind person, this system just does not work, and I saw that today. It just didn't work for me, and you know, I would not use these sort of bus stops, and you know, something really needs to be done about this, and it's got to be addressed sooner rather than later.
And there were a number of people come up to you to ask if you could cross. Not everybody, and you were there quite long periods when nobody was helping you. How does that make you feel if somebody comes and asks you?
Well, it's always very helpful, and the member of the public that does that means well, and I felt that I should allow them to bring me across, because one thing we've got to be careful of here is if I refuse help from somebody, I might be the first person that they've asked, and if I refuse, the next blind person they see in some kind of difficulty, they mightn't be so free to ask. But the reason I didn't always accept their help is because obviously you were filming, and that would have negated the whole project. But I did explain to people exactly what we were doing, so that they didn't go away with kind of a bad feeling like, the next one I'm not going to help. It's important that we let people know why we're refusing.
Thank you so much. Greatly appreciated.
I want to get from A to B. If there is something that is impairing my independence, it's wrong. Cyclists have a right to cycle, but people have to remember pedestrians have just as much right to walk.
Filmed for just over 14 minutes. 27 cyclists passed. 25 did not stop at the zebra crossing. 2 stopped and asked if needed help. 1 stopped after he crossed the zebra crossing, and 1 before the zebra crossing. 9 pedestrians stopped and asked if he needed help.
The bus stop bypass design outside the train station in Leicester has also cut off access to bus services for blind and visually impaired bus passengers, as well as a previous accessible route to a pedestrian-only walkway to the city, as Sarah Lebetter, a visually impaired guide dog user, explained.
From the station, you used to go over a crossing, there used to be a little island, another crossing, and straight over. You know how you see the other side, them bollards?
Yeah.
You just go straight up to Newark.
And now you've got this crazy crossing here.
Yeah, won't use it.
That's dangerous. You're expected to, like, compete with the bus, Sarah.
I know, exactly.
You're competing with buses, you're competing with cyclists.
Yeah.
That's shocking. We've got people there waiting again in the cycle lane. We've got a bus now actually waiting right on the crossing. He's not going to let people out there, is he? We've got somebody in the middle of the cycle lane.
Filming at Leicester also very clearly highlighted the new dangers of illegal e-scooters using the cycle lanes in both directions, making it even more unsafe for bus passengers and people crossing the cycle lane. References are often made to the design working in other countries. However, this news report we found from Denmark which shows there is still confusion using the design. Cyclists are seen riding and weaving past bus passengers crossing the cycle lane, one with a crutch. There is a small area for bus passengers who are expected to get on and off a bus from this location. Another cycle lane is shown which is in the same location where passengers directly get on and off the bus. Film is then shown where there is a small platform where some pedestrians are giving way to cyclists riding past and others are walking and cyclists keep riding at them. In Canada, the National Federation of the Blind won a human rights tribunal against the design, with this news footage explaining the problems before the case was heard.
Plea from Victoria's blind community about the city's new bike lanes. They say crossing them could be a matter of life and death. The group has even gone so far as to launch a human rights complaint. A complaint CTV News has confirmed the city is trying to have dismissed. Christina Stevens reports.
This is what the human rights complaint is all about. people who are visually impaired say it's too dangerous to cross the new bike lanes to get to the bus stop on the other side. A lot of cyclists don't stop, and because bikes are virtually silent, Graham McCreath can't tell if there's even a bike there.
Did the bike go through?
So you don't even know?
No.
It's so dangerous, McCreath won't take buses on the routes with the floating stops.
The thing is, we need to just know when it's safe to cross. This is the big thing.
But a source tells CTV News the city has requested the BC Human Rights Tribunal dismiss a complaint about the bike lanes filed by the Canadian Federation of the Blind. The man named in the complaint, Oriana Belusic, says it's disheartening.
They've created a terrible problem and they just don't want to deal with it.
UVic's Dean of Law says human rights come down to basic human dignity. But this case is about more than accommodation.
This is a question of these people's safety. I believe that Victoria has a real opportunity here, given the aging population, to be a model city that treats all of their citizens properly.
The right thing, according to the complaint, is tearing up these islands so buses can once again pull up to the curb.
We're excluded, and we should be included in all the new infrastructure that's taking place.
McCreath says better safety for cyclists shouldn't come at the expense of other people's safety.
Reference is often made to research on bus stop bypasses undertaken in London, stating hours and hours of footage was collected for the study. However, on closer examination, it was only the first 6 cyclists and 8 pedestrians that crossed the bus stop bypass for each hour was used in the analysis of the study. In rush hour, this could have only been 22 seconds or less, as illustrated by this film clip in 2018. From what we have witnessed, there are many other unsafe situations arising at the bus stop bypasses, creating a new accessibility barrier to accessing public transport.
My question concerns the new side roads. As a very visually impaired person, I find it difficult to travel on the bus because when I get off the bus, I'm getting onto a traffic on the side road and it's not safe. Do you plan to build more or to redesign them because it just is not safe for visually impaired people? That's all.
Thank you for all the questions. So the first one in relation to the lady in the third row who's visually impaired and is troubled by the cycle lanes. What's really important is that those who are visually impaired are properly consulted. What needs to happen before a cycle lane goes in is an impact assessment is done, because we want to make sure that visually impaired people aren't being disadvantaged. One of the things we've sought to do in City Hall over the last 6 years is to make sure public transport is for everybody, including those who are disabled, with more step-free access, with more help at bus stops and so forth. So if there's an issue with cycle lanes causing problems for visually impaired people, we need to address that. So if you wouldn't mind staying where you are at the end, I'll probably still going to speak to you.
Very much. I'm Caroline Pigeon. I'm a Liberal Democrat London Assembly member, and I think it's really important, picking up the point about cycle lanes, that when we design any infrastructure in the community, it's got to be with the whole community to make sure it works for everyone. And too often things are designed without looking at everyone in the community. We do need to make sure that the voice of disabled people, visually impaired people, is at the table. And I think that's really important going forward, and that's for the boroughs as well as TfL.
I'm Seth. I'm the Deputy Mayor for Transport.
Getting off the pavement because a cycle lane got no access to get on the bus. It's not safe.
No, I appreciate it.
Sarah Gayton, I'm with the National Federation of the Blind in the UK. There is a real problem with the conflict between active travel cycle lanes that have been put in that are actually separating the pavement from the bus stop. We have to fundamentally protect access to a bus straight from the pavement. We have to come up with a different design because our members can only take buses, they can't drive, they can't cycle, so they can't even get the bus anymore. So,
and the question arising from that is,
can we halt the active travel? Investment going in to ensure every scheme that goes in ensures direct access from the pavement to the bus.
Speaking as someone who got killed by a cyclist stepping over the valley of death onto a bus stop on Balham High Road the weekend, I strongly agree with that point. I'm a neutral chair, so I shouldn't be showing out. Minister, what do you think about ensuring access from the pavement to buses while also promoting cycle transport?
Yes, so it's a very live issue. I know that. I'm not the cycling and walking minister, so I'm going to slightly swerve it. Because I don't know where we are. I don't have an update on where we are in terms of protecting, making sure we have good investment in active travel, but also making sure that we can get people onto buses. Obviously, we have LTM 120, and I'm not entirely sure what the guidance is within LTM 120 about cycle lanes and how they conflict with bus stops. So I'm going to slightly swear it at this time.
What would you like to happen in London with these bus stop bypasses?
They need to redesign them and rethink the whole thing. And I know the advert goes for the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters. Well, it doesn't for me because I can't travel by bus anymore. Not if I have to get off somewhere where there's a cycle lane. So I only go out if it's absolutely necessary, and that's how I feel. My independence is being eroded bit by bit.
Why is this bus stop so good?
Bus pulls up, they see my cane and they stop right beside me so I can get on the bus.
There's a floating bus stop where I used to go to the gym. So I used to get off the bus, and even though the bus tells you to be careful, when you're visually impaired or blind, you can't be careful because you can't see people coming. So a few times I've got off the bus there and I was abused, basically. Oh yeah, can't you see where you're going? Obviously I can't see where I'm going. And really, I can't understand why, they've got these floating bus stops, because really, they're a nuisance and they're dangerous as well. They're not safe. They're certainly not good for, disabled people or mums with pushchairs stepping into cycle lanes, because cyclists don't have the patience for us. I've now stopped going to the gym because I can't go on my own. If I've got somebody with me, that's fine, but I can't have somebody with me all the time. So I've stopped going to the gym. I do think it was put down in lockdown, but it needs to be, taken away basically, so that I can go back to the gym and it can be a safer place for other, pedestrians basically, and people travelling on TfL. They need to rethink and take away these floating bus stops.
For your safety, please cross the cycle lane with caution.
What do you call them? Bus islands?
Floating bus stops.
Floating bus stops. A nightmare. If you're getting on or off, how you're supposed to look out for a cycle coming along when you're visually impaired or blind, or even deaf, is beyond me. At the floating bus stops, you have to cross a cycle lane to get to the bus stop, or vice versa. When you get off, you have to go across a cycle lane. It's so dangerous. I think it must be obviously dangerous for anybody that thought of the idea. Whether people like myself, elderly with their shopping trolleys, mums and dads with their buggies and young children, they're just totally unsafe and unsuitable for 21st century living. I've stopped using, there's a couple of places on the Woolwich Road in Cheltenham that I've actually stopped going there because they are so awful to use, so dangerous. Yeah, I'm having to find different places to go, or stick to places that I feel absolutely safe to go to. But how can it be that in the borough in which I live, there are places I won't go to now because they're unsafe, but I can feel safer in the West End? That makes no sense, does it? I could go around on the Lizzie line happily to Tottenham Court Road, feel totally safe, get around, but I can't go in just from Woolwich to Cheltenham and some crossings to have to use and be safe. It's just mad. Oh, they need to take them out immediately. Immediately. For people like myself, or with even worse disabilities, they need to be taken out because they're incredibly dangerous. They're an absolute mare for most people who use public transport.
The importance of curbs is clearly stated.
What's that, Sandy?
In our inclusive design report, it was clearly stated the importance of curbs for visually impaired and other disabled people. And here we have no curbs.
And how long have you been working on that document for?
2015, when we put in our petition to the Scottish Parliament, and it was supposed to be published this year. It still hasn't been published.
7 years?
Yep.
7 years you put a petition about accessibility and still nothing?
Yes, it was on shared space initially, but it has moved forward. But, curb delineation is very, very important, and we made that very, very clear. And here you can see from the design that they are eliminating curbs.
I thought Scotland was about equality for all.
Not as far as accessing our towns and cities is concerned, obviously. How they can approve these designs is unbelievable.
It's Sandy, this bus stop here is that you've got the road, you've got just a flat pavement with corduroy tactile, it's all flat, with more corduroy tactile. What would you say to that?
I say, first of all, it is confusing because they are misusing the tactile paving. The guidance does not allow the paving to be used in this way. Totally confusing to any visually impaired or blind person.
And then you literally actually just step in what in effect is into a cycle lane.
Absolutely, yeah. No, I wouldn't come near here independently.
Sandy, this design here, is this accessible to you or not?
Absolutely not. I mean, how they can come up with a design like this which excludes so many people is unbelievable. Absolutely confusing to any disabled person. I just find it unbelievably bad. Yeah, here we are in what you tell me is a shared space area. It's shared between cyclists and pedestrians. Now, cyclists should not be sharing space with pedestrians. It's too dangerous for blind and visually impaired people to use this space. It's impossible for us to navigate this area. We will avoid this area.
The way that it's been designed is that the cyclists come behind the pedestrian crossing.
Actually, thankfully I can't see how big a mess it is here. It's just crazy. The control crossing doesn't include the cycle lane.
No, it doesn't, Sandy.
That's absolutely crazy. So the cycle lane is here, and there is a zebra crossing that we can't see. We can't see the cyclists coming along. This should be a control crossing all the way across the road, and not just on the road itself. It should include the cycle lane.
Well, a gentleman just went across the zebra crossing there, Sandy, to get to the control crossing.
Right.
And the cyclist didn't stop.
That's why it is impossible for people like me to be able to cross the road safely. You know, it is impossible for me to see a cyclist coming along, and that gentleman you spoke of, he could see. I can't. These schemes must be in breach of our equality and human rights. You know, we are put at a huge disadvantage compared to non-disabled people. The Equality and Human Rights Act is supposed to be there to protect people and allow us the same rights as other people. Clearly this design excludes us, and that must be in breach of our equality and human rights. The 3rd of December is International Day for Persons with Disabilities, and we've just handed a petition in to my local MSP, Rona Mackay, which called for safe access to buses for visually impaired and disabled people. We want direct access from the pavement on and off a bus, so that we are not put in danger having to cross a two-way cycle lane. Cyclists don't stop, and as a blind person I'm not prepared to play Russian roulette with cyclists. We pride ourselves on our independence, but you know, more and more with shared space and the use of these floating bus stops, our independence has been taken away from us. We want them to take out all the floating bus stops that are there at the moment, and not to use any more floating bus stop bypasses.
How many people are saying, I am not going to use that bus stop anymore? It's trouble. We want to be able to get on and off buses safely. The designs are inherently discriminatory and no new ones should be built. It is essential that direct access to and from buses is protected and restored. This is the only safe and accessible way blind and visually impaired pedestrians will be able to use public transport, along with many other bus passengers that need safety at bus stops.